We're live. Technical difficulties, but we are here on a Sunday, a beautiful Sunday evening. We've got football to talk about. I'm Preston Poole. That's Tyler Adams Teabag. Follow us on X at Preston Poole 405, at Tyler's Takes, at Unadvised Pod. Teabag, what do you want to get into to start today off?
I guess we should just go kind of in order, kind of backtrack from yesterday. And I think the bigger game probably to talk about was OU versus Tulane. Obviously, as we know, Sooners won 35-19. Looked better. Looked
At
the same
times.
at times. I mean, sometimes with just the exact same of what we saw in the Houston game.
Yeah.
But then again, whenever, Jackson Arlene make a play late in the fourth quarter with that was like a 13, 14-yard run. He got it done. So, defense still looks great. If you're an OU fan, I think, you take that. Maybe not every time it's a game where you're like, okay, we take that every single time after the Houston performance, but it's a game you definitely you take more times than not after what we saw last weekend.
Well, look, that was their hardest non-conference opponent was Tulane because Houston is not good. Temple is probably the worst team in all of college football. If you look at any of the stats, that will tell you that Temple is one of the worst teams in college football.
Yeah.
So
They're a bottom two team.
Yes, for sure. So to go out and beat Tulane and cover what a lot of people thought was not good, you weren't gonna be able to do, basically, and me being one of those people. You go out, you do that. So you can't be too disappointed by much that went on there in that game yesterday, outside of what happened in between, the third quarter and like the halfway through the fourth quarter. The end of the fourth quarter was great from Oklahoma, especially on defense.
Yeah.
Offense as well. They're able to get into the end zone there and ice things. So I thought it was a decent performance there by the Sooners. And I think the biggest story is that this defense, I think, is, I'm not going to say top 10 in the country, but I think this is the makings of like a top 25 defense in the country.
Yeah, I think by the end of the season we'll be looking at the defense like it's top 25. Now, if the offense what we saw yesterday, was just fraudulent to a degree, and when the SEC play rolls around, the offense can't do things. Maybe the defense numbers probably get a little deflated, I guess, deflated. They won't maybe look as good if the defense is on the field the majority of the time. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think this defense is legit. They're deep everywhere.
Geez. Our Mason Thomas was elite yesterday for them.
Yes. He had the fourth quarter of his life yesterday. He was unreal. Just every single position is so deep. They, unlike the, defenses we've seen in the past with this defense will hit you in the mouth, they'll tackle you, they'll wrap up, and they'll get back up, high five, and on the line of scrimmage, ready to do it one more time. So it's definitely in the makings to be the best defense we've seen at OU since the Bob Stoops days, for sure.
Yeah, I think like around probably 2008, when they went to the national championship, somewhere around there. I was sitting next to Curtis yesterday at the game, and every play, it seemed like we just looked over and said, well, there's Danny Stutzman making another tackle.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like he's in on every single tackle. So yeah, to have a guy like him, playing middle linebacker for that defense, and you gotta have guys on the back end like Billy Bowman who can make plays. And then the defensive line where they can just rotate in a bunch of different guys and are still productive. Which, by the way, Jaden Jackson, the freshman, it's if you're sitting there watching the games and not really paying too much attention, it seems like he's not really doing much as far as, getting back there and getting sacks and all that. But he is, I think, very important in like the run game stopping the run game. Because I think he's there. He just clogs the hole there. And him and Dominic Williams, I think both are, that's why, they are almost an elite run stop defense, because you sit there and you look at the Tulane run game yesterday, they're getting 3 yards a pop, if that.
Yeah, whenever Tulane was running the ball, you're like, why are you doing this? Because
you
just have to know. And I know you got to keep teams honest, and you do have to establish the run to a degree. You can't just really throw it every single play. I guess we'll get into the OSU Tulsa game here in a second, where it seems like that's just what OSU is doing. But yeah, whenever Tulane was running the ball, it was OU had 6 guys right there wrapping up on the running back within a yard, if that.
Yeah.
So maybe even on the line of scrimmage. So yeah, I mean OU's run defense right now is definitely the strength of that defense, and it's not like the pass defense is bad.
Yeah, for sure. And we have someone on YouTube saying Jackson Arnold is terrible, TBH. I don't think he's terrible. I mean, I think he's a guy that started
Oh
3-4 games and is still learning the game of college football and has played with an offensive line that's had like 10 different starters so far through 3 games this season. So I don't think he's terrible. I think that, probably the worst pass he made yesterday was the pick 6. That
yeah,
was
and
just
that
a
was a
pass where,
bad that was a
yeah,
bad interception. Like don't get that twisted. But at the same time, Jackson Arnold made a huge play on that
yeah.
third down to get into the end zone. He made some big plays when he had to. It kind of actually felt like this week they were kind of like working towards what do you want to do that makes you more comfortable,
Well,
and they're doing
even
that.
Luttrell came out after the game and said they didn't want to get into the quarterback run game this early in the season, but they had to. And my
Yeah,
thing is like, if you knew that was going to make the offense work just a little bit better than what it did versus Houston, why not just rip the Band-Aid off there and try it then? Because I mean, Arnold was the leading rusher for Oklahoma yesterday. I'll say he had 100 yards. I think he had like 97 because of the kneel downs and stuff at the end of the
and
game.
the
But
sacks too. That
yeah,
I hate how the
well,
NCAA counts sacks towards rushing yards for a
yeah,
quarterback.
that is
It's
dumb.
yeah. I've always hated that because I think a lot of quarterbacks that are good runners kind of get some of their stats kind of snubbed away from them
Yeah.
because rushing yards really should matter a lot in a quarterback, statistical category. But yeah, no, Jackson Arnold was good yesterday. Did he make mistakes? Yeah. Was he perfect? No, or no. Is there still a lot for him to improve on? Yeah, but to me, I mean, it's never really been a Jackson Arnold thing to me. Even like during the Houston game, like obviously, I think after the Houston game, it was all fair for all of us to say like, if this doesn't work, they should get a Michael Hawkins soon just to see what he provides. Not saying to bench Arnold and just like
Yeah.
have him done or anything, but after the Houston game, that was kind of a fair question to ask. Like, hey, is Hawkins going to come and bring a spark to this offense right now? But to me, it's never really been a Jackson Arnold problem. He's made mistakes. He hasn't maybe made certain throws he should have, or made the right choices on some RPOs or whatever. But it's not like you watch me like this guy's a bum. You're not watching DJU out there. You're watching a guy with legit talent play football. It's just I still think he's learning. And guess what? That happens. I mean, not every quarterback figures it out in their 4th start.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can take 6, 7, 8, 9 starts before they figure it out.
Also from the YouTube chat, OU run game isn't good. I'm not sure what they'll do Saturday against Tennessee. It's not the best, but they ran for 182 yards yesterday, and they had 2 carries that equaled, negative 11 yards. So they had almost 200 yards rushing yesterday.
I kind of worry a lot about OU's offensive line in general versus Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh
Tennessee's
yeah.
front 7 is legit, arguably the best in the country. They got a couple first rounders on their front 7. So I think that's just going to be a challenge in itself. I mean, I know we'll preview the game as we go later on this week, and we're kind of just previewing too late right now. I still kind of lean Tennessee, not lean because I do think Tennessee will win this game just based off the trenches alone on the
Yeah.
offensive line. I think it's going to be too much. I think their offense is going to come in at will. I don't think Josh Heupel is going to hold back any punches. But yeah, I do agree. I think the run game might be a little bit of a concern come this Saturday against Tennessee because I think their front 7 is legit.
Yeah, and I think that Taylor Tatum is the second, maybe first
Yeah,
best running back on the team. Javonte Barnes was good yesterday, I think. I mean, in total, if you're talking about all the running backs on the roster so far this season, Javonte Barnes has been the best, I think. And then it's Taylor Tatum at number 2. Sawchuk has just left a lot of stuff to be desired, and and I know that's just them dialing up runs right up the middle. And Barnes and Tatum are, I feel like, more able to get outside and do stuff more out on the outside in the run game than what Sawchuk is. But I think Barnes and Tatum is your 1-2 combo at tailback right now.
no, I'm with you. I think Tatum had a great game yesterday.
The home run celebration was awesome, by the way.
Awesome celebration. Awesome celebration. I mean, if you guys don't know, he also plays baseball for the
Yeah.
Sooners baseball team. So that was just a great celebration for him to do right there.
Yes, and then the other news out of the game is I made a lot of people mad online yesterday.
I saw this.
I wasn't even trying to, but I ended up making a lot of people mad. Probably around the middle of the second quarter, I think the score is like 21-0. Curtis and I looked over at the student section and they were all gone, basically. Not really, but there was a lot of open seats. And let me clarify, there was a lot of open seats like in the upper deck. Anyways, it was not the best weather game possible, right? But a lot of people out there were thinking that this was like yesterday was the hottest day that we've had in like the last 500 years, which was not the case. It was like 92 degrees, so it wasn't like just absolutely scorching 110 like some games previously have been. But I took the picture, I tweeted it out saying I'm convinced that the students don't really care too much about football games unless they are nighttime games that are big time matchups, because they always show up for that, and I understand that. But you're in the SEC now, you need to show up for every game, no matter what time it happens, no matter if it's a little toasty outside, or no matter if it's parents weekend and your parents are in town. Show up to the game. There's 8,000 students get tickets, Teabag. 8,000. There are 30,000 that go to school at the main campus in Norman. So you're telling me that they couldn't find 5,000 other students to go to the game to fill that thing up?
Yeah, so I've always had like kind of like a mixed tune on this, because this happens at a lot of places. Like Norman's not the only place this happens at. It happens in Stillwater for the South
It
Dakota
happens
State
a
game.
lot in Norman that people don't want to accept it, but it happens a lot in Norman.
It could have more Norman than maybe most. But like, for example, this year at the South Dakota State game for OSU, and a lot of students did leave at halftime, and I thought it was kind of like, really, because the game was still. I mean, OSU. I mean, really never had a sweat in that game, so like you kind of knew OSU was probably going to win the game. It was like, really, you can't really stay like kind of until midway through the third quarter or fourth quarter. Like,
yeah,
1 o'clock kick. Like, what do you get? Like, you got to be in the stadium until like 5 o'clock. Like, you guys can't do that. And I get it's hot. Like, I get, especially at those in football stadiums with the grass and the bleachers and stuff. Like, that adds an extra like 20 degrees of heat to everything. Like when you're sitting baking in the sun in a football stadium, it is hotter than just sitting in a lawn chair in your front yard.
yes, yeah.
Baking in the
And
sun.
that's a point
that.
that I totally agree with on that. My point is there's 65 to 80-year-old people in the stands also that stay for the whole game, and you can't have a bunch of 20-something-year-old college students stay for at least until the end of the third quarter. I mean, good Lord. 20 minutes before kickoff, they were still like, I don't know, 10 rows, it seemed like, that were needed to be filled up in the student section.
You know what's a problem I think OU has, and OSU to an extent, when it comes to the student engagement with some sports at times? Too many Texas kids come up and go to school here. Too many people that did not grow up OU fans, OSU fans, but obviously the academics and even the cost to go to A&M or UT is sometimes just, if you're a kid from Dallas, it's probably cheaper. I know this for OSU. I don't know about for OU. I had a friend that got accepted into A&M and got accepted into OSU from Dallas. He was 3 hours away from home going to OSU, 3 hours away from home going to College Station, and it was cheaper for him to go to OSU.
Yeah.
So he was like that. That was kind of like his main point. Like it was significantly cheaper for me to go to OSU, so he came to OSU. And so a lot of kids from Dallas do go to OSU or OU just based off cost, or they're too dumb to get an A&M or UT. And I say that, and not in any slight, because my grades would have never even let me sniff an acceptance letter from UT or A&M. So I'm not trying to like call anyone. It's just, you were too dumb. I was too dumb. That I do think that's kind of plays a little bit of an issue though, Preston, is you get too much of these Dallas kids that kind of come in and they don't grow up watching OU football or OSU football. And then they kind of overtake a certain portion of the student body. And I think a lot of that can just like rub off onto an effect of not caring as much about the program as maybe students should.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And look, credit to the students; they show up for big games, right? But
Yeah, they'll
I
be there
think,
all 4 quarters for Tennessee,
yeah,
as long as it's a good game.
but I think that if you want to, paint yourself in a good light as like a fan base, if you're an Oklahoma Sooners fan, that you want the stadium filled up, no matter if East Popcorn State is coming into play at 11 a.m. or if Alabama or Tennessee is rolling into play at a 6:30 kickoff. You want the
Yeah.
stadium as filled up as possible, no matter what. Because you look around the SEC, and that's not really a problem that a lot of SEC schools have. Is fans being there on time in their seats for the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, like I've always had a mixed tune on this. I'm not really a leave at halftime guy, no matter what. I also would understand if it was 42-0 at halftime and they left. I'd be like, whatever. Like the whole stadium can leave at that point.
Yeah.
It's game's over. Go do
And
your
that's the
own
thing. It
thing.
was 21-6 at halftime,
Yeah,
and they
it
had
was.
a 5-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I don't condone it at all. I'm not a fan of doing that stuff, but at the same time, it's just college kids. And I will
Yeah.
say this, Preston, I think it's been an issue at a lot more places than just Norman. I think
Yeah,
we might get a
it
little bit of
probably
a
is, but
limelight.
I
I
I
think Ole Miss has a very, very, very bad problem of their students leaving quite early.
yes, I would agree. Someone says, "Why do you have a hoodie on when it's hot outside?" Because I got the AC cranked on here in the house.
Yeah, we don't go
That way,
outside on Sundays.
yeah, I've been watching football all day, sitting on my couch. That's why. Um, but yeah, and by the way, some of the responses I got, man, good lord, I had to mute that whole thing because people were calling me every name in the book.
And then there's probably
Um,
arguments inside that you're getting, like,
yeah,
like 3 burner accounts are going at it at once, and that you're still getting tagged. Yep, I've been there. It's the
in the
worst.
I got called a lot of names, and I'm fine with that. That doesn't really hurt me. But the one that did hurt the most was says, "Damn, a guy built like you in the press box," and I was like, "Dang, dude, why you guys do me like that, man?" Like, look, I know I'm fat, all right, but dang, that's the first time I ever sat in the press box for a game. Normally, I'm out in the
What
stands.
was he a burner
Uh,
account?
I have no clue. I just saw it.
Because that's the
I had a
worst. Whenever they go after you after your looks,
yeah,
because what? So I got OU fans. I didn't make them mad, but whenever OSU won Bedlam this last year, I posted a picture of me in the stadium, like and it made its way to OU Twitter, and people were just commenting on my
oh
looks
yeah,
the whole time, and I was just like, it's whatever. I didn't really care much about it, but my only
yeah.
thing like that semi bothers me is just like, you guys have burner accounts with 43 people. You're too scared to be on a main account with your name and stuff
Yeah,
because God knows why. So
yeah.
yeah, that's the best whenever burner accounts go at you after you personally. It's like,
But yeah, that one. I made me a little angry, but I had a few drinks and I laughed it off. Because I don't really care. So, all right, let's move on to Oklahoma State beating Tulsa yesterday. I watched a little bit of the game here and there. I was kind of flipping through some of the other games that were on yesterday as well. Alan Bowman, though, he was quite the game for him.
Dr. Bowman, the Bow Show.
Yep.
It was full effect. Tulsa was stacking the box with about 7 or 8 every single play to stop the run, and that just opened up the passing game like I truly haven't seen in the last couple of years for Oklahoma State. I think a lot of it had to do it was Tulsa, and OSU was just significantly, and I mean significantly better than them. I mean, it really was kind of a blatant like maybe not blatant eye opening. That's a little disrespectful to Tulsa to a degree. It was pretty apparent how the better athletes were on one side of the field compared to
Yeah.
the other.
Yes.
The wide receivers were just able to get open like it was nothing. Bowman literally could probably close his eyes and throw it up, and someone was open down there. But yeah, I mean, I know we're going to talk about it, but the running game is still bad, really bad, and everyone, because there's kind of like a little civil war going on with the OSU fans online about the running game, where it's like you'll get the really big homers being like, well, they're putting 8 in the box every time. And my argument is like, yes, they are. That's not wrong. If this offensive line, Ollie Gordon, are supposed to be what they are, they should be able to pop one of these open every now and again, and they don't.
Yeah. I mean, the
So
guy
that's
won the award for best running back last
yeah,
year.
yeah, and they were the offensive line was like preseason like favorites to win the Joe Moore Award, which is the best offensive line award.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like, yes, are they putting 8 in the box? Yes. Is it going to slow down the run? Absolutely. But I saw OSU run up the middle about 30 times yesterday, and not one of them were able to get popped open. That's my frustration.
Yeah.
If they struggled majority of the day, but they're able to get 6 or 7 10-yard runs out of it as well, I mean, okay, that's a little bit with stacking 8 in the box, you can live with that. But they wouldn't at all. And then my other complaint is, Preston, whenever they Casey Dunn had a beautiful, and I mean beautiful play call late in the game. It was when Garrett Rangel was in at quarterback. The starters were benched, and Rangel was under shotgun. It was 3rd and goal, I think, from the 1-yard line. He was under center, gets the ball, instantly pitches it to the running back to the outside, wide open, touchdown. And it's just like, why are we wasting that play right now? That is a perfect play that I feel like would become pretty helpful in this Utah game. So I don't think OC's going to run the ball much against Utah because they have a pretty good defense. Kyle Whittingham's known for a good, solid physical defense every single year. So that play being run whenever it was 35-3 was kind of like, why? Why are we doing this? But other than that, it was a fantastic day for the Pokes. Alan Bowman was amazing. Wide receivers were amazing. Defense was good. I don't want to say amazing because, again, it was Tulsa, but they did what they had to do. The starters only gave up 3 points for 3 quarters, so they played really good yesterday. And they were able to get some rest going in the fourth quarter and get ready for Utah this week. So I'm excited. That game went enough to where I am full on back on the Big 12 championship hunt. You beat a team 45-10, you're instantly just like, we're back, baby. So, yeah, that's my quick little analysis of what I saw yesterday.
17 carries, 41 yards for Ollie Gordon, no touchdowns. And yesterday
he did have one in his defense with the 41 yards. There was one run where he got like 15 yards out of it, but there's a holding. So, So, it doesn't count the box score, doesn't count at all. But that there was, I will give him credit, there was one where I was like, oh my God, they kind of did something good there.
I think it was
it's bad. It's still just baffling.
Yeah, I think Stribling. I think when I was watching, he made just an outstanding play for a touchdown. He had like a what was it, like a 63-yard touchdown or something like that. His long was 63, so I'm assuming that's what it was. But he made just an outstanding play.
Taylor had a 75-yarder maybe.
78 it looks like.
78, yeah.
Which is Bowman almost 400 yards. Yeah.
Yeah, they were able to. Bowman was able to throw it well. His wife or his future wife, his fiance, is on her bachelorette party this week, and they're talking about it on ESPN. And OSU fans have started a GoFundMe to extend the bachelorette party until after the K-State game. So another 2 weeks, because he had definitely his best game as a Poke yesterday.
He was playing free, I guess maybe. So good for him.
He's playing like he's on a mini bachelor trip. Going to Tulsa with the boys.
Yeah, going to Tulsa with the boys. Every man's dream bachelor party destination. All right. Well, anything else on Oklahoma State before we move on to the NFL?
No, I think
okay. Next on the docket, K-State, right? Next week. Or no, Utah. I mean, Utah next week for the Pokes. So definitely going to be tuned in to that. All right, let's get into some NFL. Let's start with the Thursday night game the other day. The Bills beating down the Dolphins. I mean, the biggest thing from this game was Tua getting just another scary concussion. And T-Bag, you played football. I didn't. I just watched football. This seems like one of those things where he should probably retire and just take all of his money and run. But I don't think that's going to happen.
He should definitely. I mean, if I was him, he
has to at least think about it, right? He has to at least think about it.
it's a lot easier to say he should just retire because although I played football, I didn't work my whole life to become an NFL
Exactly.
quarterback.
Yeah.
That's a lot different than playing high school football for Evan North. When we were terrible. Anyway, and also just the preparation that goes into quarterback in general.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to say that, but he got his contract. He's got his fully guaranteed. I think he should hang it up. I mean, man, when you get 2 concussions, I know he's had more than just 2, but where your fingers are,
Yeah.
you almost like you go paralyzed for about 2 or 3 seconds. That's scary. Like that's not
Yeah.
something you really want to mess around with because what if one day you do get hit in the head and like that feeling doesn't go away and you feel like you're like there like a lot longer.
Yeah.
I would definitely, if I was to with the money you got now, like you don't have to worry about anything financially. You're financially secure for the rest of your life. So your kids, grandkids, and their grandkids. So I would hang it up. I'm with you. I don't think he will because I think these guys, I think professional athletes are too competitive for injury to take them out. Even though I think brain injury is a lot different than you torn your ACL a couple times and have some arthritis in your knee when you're older. I think
Yeah.
brain injury is a lot different. I just look at it from the stance of if I'm Tua and I'm sitting there, how do I want to live my life when I'm 50 years old and 60 years old?
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's definitely, and you hear all the old NFL guys talk about it all the time. It's what the way they feel when they get older and stuff like that. So I think at the least he can do is start wearing one of those Guardian caps. I mean,
yeah,
maybe he can be like the face of the Guardian cap in the NFL. Because yeah, it's just that it's scary to watch and see when that happens. And for a guy it's happened now, what 2 or 3 times to him on national television. It just sucks to see for a guy who's obviously super talented, able to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So yeah, hopefully
Chiefs.
we'll
Chiefs
see.
just. Are you watching Preston?
I just missed it. I saw it pop up here on my
Yeah,
computer though. The Chiefs hit a game-winning field goal to beat the Bengals 26-25. We'll get into that here in just a sec. Let's start though with these early afternoon games. Baker and the Bucks, they're pretty good, huh? They beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit.
Baker put Malcolm Rodriguez on skates too.
I
Did you see
saw that.
that?
Yeah.
I mean, Malcolm was coming in for the tackle, and Baker did a little sidestep, and Malcolm was just on his ass within a second. Hell of a run, back-to-back runs for Baker, by the way, because that run then set up a touchdown run
Yeah.
that he ran in the very next play. So yeah, I mean, he looked like Lamar Jackson out there. But yeah, I mean, Baker or the Bucks, the Baconeers are a really good team. Lions didn't play all too well today, but to go in on the road to Motor City and win on the road like they did, kind of controlled the whole game. Baker played great again, so he's proving that this is obviously just who he is now. Last year wasn't a flash in the pan. He's done it last year, then the 2 games this year to even a better extent. Really good for Baker Mayfield. The Bucks are good. I think they're the clear favorites to win that division right now.
I just needed 5 more yards from Mike Evans. That's all I needed. And they went to go throw it, and it was like on the last play before they had to punt it back to the Lions on a slant route, and the defender got in there and got a hand on it, and I would
Tough.
have hit my parlay, but did not happen.
I would have hit my parlay if the Rams didn't poop the bed. And let me tell you, I needed that parlay. Like I needed that parlay.
Yes. One of the other just surprising, shocking games from this morning, the Saints, I mean, beat the hell out of the
Saints are good.
Cowboys. Look, I've called Derek Carr a bum now for like 4 years. I'm gonna have to take him off bum watch right now, at least for the next week.
I just said the Bucks are the clear favorite in that division, and then I just totally forget the Saints are in that division. That's going to be a hell of a showdown when those two get together. But yeah, I mean, last week I was like, oh, it's just the Panthers. But then then you kind of think about it watching today. It's like, well, 47 points in an NFL game, no matter who you're playing. It's
Yeah.
47 points, and they get out and beat the brakes off the Cowboys today. Saints are just good.
44 points against the Cowboys with 2, which is crazy.
So Saints are just good, I guess, and that's the world we're living in.
And if you're a guy like me and you had to play against Alvin Kamara in fantasy football, you got screwed because Kamara had 4 touchdowns in that game. Derek Carr lighting it up. So, look, if you're listening, Derek Carr, I'm taking you off bum watch for the next, I'll give you 10 to 14 days, somewhere in that range. But if you put out a stinker next week, then I'm putting you back on bum watch. But yeah, the Saints, crazy to say, but the Saints kind of look like the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah. I also need to give you a shout out because whenever I was doing that fantasy draft on the show, you said draft Rashid Shaheed because how could you not with a name like that?
I'm literally watching him on the red
great
zone.
pickup.
Yeah, I'm watching every red zone touchdown, and he literally just scored. So
it was a great pickup.
Yeah, I mean, look, that offense right now is humming there. In New Orleans, they beat the Cowboys 44-19. All right, let's go to Green Bay for this next game as the Packers were taking on the Colts, and I thought there's no way in hell the Colts lose to the Packers without Jordan Love. Malik Willis is starting at quarterback for the Packers. They're not going to look good. And it turns out the Colts just stink, and the Packers kind of still stink, without Jordan Love, but they stink a little bit less than what the Colts do because the Colts are awful.
Yeah, so I stayed away from this game because I really wanted to bet the Colts, but at the same time, it's just like
I got screwed. Yeah,
I didn't trust them, and I also just know that these are kind of like games Packers can win. These are just kind of the games where Packers are like, oh, we're the Packers, we're a great organization, we have a great culture, blah blah blah. Screw you guys, because that could never happen to my team. But yeah, so I stayed away from that one. Turns out, yeah, the Colts are stinky. I was right in that whenever I was going through that decision in my head. I was right on that. One of the few decisions I was right on. So, yeah, Colts suck. Anthony Richardson.
Way overrated. Yeah, way overrated.
He shows those flashes, but that's about it. He reminds me of Preston.
Who's
that?
And
it's not necessarily that because they play the same or anything, so I don't think they necessarily do to a degree. It's just he reminds me the same of they both guys that show flashes, but then you watch the other 10 play, one play they play great, 9 plays they suck is Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson kind of has a little of that Justin Fields syndrome. It's like he has that one play out of every 10 plays, like, oh my gosh, did you see that? And then the other 9 plays are just complete stinkers. So
yeah.
That's kind of who he's reminding me of. I think there'll be a lot of people that are going to be Anthony Richardson believers when they shouldn't be, just like a lot of people are Justin Fields believers when they shouldn't be. I think that's kind of the future we're seeing for Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, for sure. Guess how many carries Josh Jacobs had today for the Packers?
I don't know.
32 carries.
32. Okay, because I was going to say, I was like, he ran it a lot, so I was going to say like 16, but I was like, well, that doesn't sound too crazy.
No, 32 carries, 151 yards, no touchdown. But he was fantastic for the Packers today. Malik Willis, 12 of 14, 122 yards and a score. The only thing that the Colts have going for him is Jonathan Taylor is still pretty good. He had 12 carries for 103 yards. And
I think they have a good head coach too.
Yeah. They need a different quarterback.
Yeah,
they need a different quarterback.
Gardner Minshew was way better last year.
Yeah,
than
I had a buddy
and this year.
My buddy who's a Colts fan was over here earlier, and we were watching that. And I'm like, watching Gardner Minshew throw touchdowns for the Raiders, I was like, man, you guys might have messed up there.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about those Chargers as they beat the Carolina Panthers 26-3, and J.K. Dobbins might just be one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Quentin Johnson has hands again, so that's a good thing.
Yes, two touchdowns for Quentin Johnson today. Had 51 yards, led the team in receptions, and then J.K. Dobbins 17 carries, 131 yards, and a score. I thought that I was going to have to do something very bad at some point in this game when Justin Herbert had to go to the medical tent, but thankfully he came back out and played. So the Chargers roll. And they'll stay out on the East Coast, and they take on the Steelers next week.
Chargers are good. I was high on the Chargers. You know this, press. I've been high on the Chargers. I thought today I bet on the Chargers money. I thought that was free mild. Uh-oh.
You still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. You're frozen on Earth. There you go. We got you back
Okay.
now. You
You
were
froze
saying
on
about
me.
the Chargers. Oh, who
Yeah.
knows?
I don't
You were
know. I
saying
don't
about
know.
the Chargers though.
The minus 4.5 today is free money. I knew this would be a game. Jim Harbaugh just wanted to go and
Just
beat
got to
the
muck
brakes
it
off
up a
him.
little bit, you know.
And then the scoreboard may not say they beat the brakes off him, but they beat the brakes off him. I thought Justin Herbert was half dead for a second. I almost texted you to do a welfare check, be like, "Hey,
Oh no, we
the
were
show's still
going
on
through
tonight."
all. Yeah, we were going through
Yeah,
all the things in the head of what am I going to do now if Herbert is hurt. But thankfully,
yeah.
he
I
went
was
back
ready.
out.
I was ready to get on the unadvised Twitter account and tweet out, "No show tonight. Press and pull. Dead. Dead. Will not be able to make the show." But luckily, Herbert is okay. So stupid microphone.
Yes, he is fine and went back to the game and had a decent game. All right, Jets Titans. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch much of this. The Jets win though, and the Titans lose. I did see why my Will Levis with just the most dumbest turnover possible. Was
Yep.
like diving and tried to pitch the ball to his tailback. Um, I don't know what to think of the Titans. I don't know if they're going to be too good this year.
I think they have a good defense.
Yeah.
That's about it. I mean, I think Will Levis is maybe just a guy at best.
Yeah.
He does throw because he did against the Bears last week too, where it just is like what WTF interceptions. So yeah, I just don't think he's all that. He's the guy. Jets, they looked good. It wasn't like they were like terrible, but I didn't really get sold as much on the Jets today. Now going and winning on the road's impressive. Aaron Rodgers had a good game, but the defense at times, kind of did make Will Levis can look a little like they made Will Levis at times look decent.
Yeah.
And I don't think Will Levis is anything close to decent. So the Jets defense still has work to do, but overall good win for the Jets. They needed that one for sure.
Yeah, they could use a guy like Hassan Reddick. I think they should probably try and get him.
Yeah. If only they had him in their
Yeah.
facility, all they had to do is negotiate a contract.
That would be very unfortunate for them for it to be right underneath their nose and not realize it. All right, let's move on to the 49ers and the Vikings. What the hell are the Vikings this year? They're 2-0. Sam Darnold has looked great.
I hate it. I hate that I'm like happy about the Vikings being good because it's their division rival and I don't like them. But I have been all over the Vikings train. I'm like, they got too good of a roster and too good of a coach to be bad. Like everyone's like, oh, and I was like, I never really thought maybe like playoff team because the division's tough. They have a tough schedule. But I've been all over this. Sam Darnold is going to have a good year. He's having a breakout year. He's having a better year than I even thought. He's unreal right now. But yeah, it pains me. I'm this happy about the Minnesota Vikings because I don't want their fans and our boss to be happy about that football team. But it does feel good whenever you got to take all off the season and it wasn't even you, Preston, like this, just kind of people like on the morning animals and stuff. And even Cisco, like when I would talk to him, like, I don't know. I just don't think we're that good. It's like they have a great coach. Like I love Kevin O'Connell as a head coach. I think he's one of the best head coaches in the NFL. And they have a great roster. And Sam Darnold is going to have a prove it year this year. And to make or break year for him. I was like, it's lining up for it to be a really fun year for the Vikings.
Yeah, and so far they've been great. They beat the 49ers at home today up there in Minneapolis. So they move on to 2-0. The next game was an OT game, actually. The Seahawks traveled all the way out to the East Coast to New England to take on the Patriots. I think they said this is the furthest flight out of any flight you can take, like NFL-wise, from Seattle to like the Boston area. So but the Seahawks get it done 23-20 in overtime. They kicked a field goal 31-yard field goal to beat him. So I mean, the Seahawks, we didn't really know what to think about them. I still think Geno Smith is on the back end of his career, if that makes any sense. But they beat the Patriots, who beat the Bengals last week.
What'd you say about Geno Smith? You cut out right there.
Geno Smith, I think he's probably on like the back end of his career, and so
Yeah.
I know there's not any other quarterback really out there to get, but I would have liked to see them like maybe draft one this year and kind of work with them
Well, they
going
took that
forward.
flyer on Sam Howell. I was going to say Drake May.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They did take Sam Howell, but nonetheless, I'm with you. I would like to see him go get someone. I'm sure that's probably going to be kind of priority number one this offseason, maybe trying to find that next guy. The thing that surprised me the most, and I heard them say this during the broadcast, and you can see the box score. Geno Smith had 5 carries for 8 yards today, and then Zach Charbonnet was the only other Seahawk to rush the ball all day. They only played one running back pretty much all day.
Yeah, because Walker was out. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Geno Smith kind of did have to kind of sling it a lot of times. Just for the Seahawks, it was a bad game. Do you have me?
Yeah, I got you.
My reception, my Wi-Fi went out. It's messed me up.
If you want to drop and then reconnect, I'll carry us through this, and I'll add you back whenever you rejoin. So, all right, T-Bag is going to reconnect real quick with us, and then keep going. But yeah, we were talking about the Seahawks and the Patriots. Geno Smith, and I said I mean I'm not too bought into Geno Smith. The guy threw for 327 yards today and a touchdown. So Charbonnet, 38 yards. So that's really an offense that needs their guy in Kenneth Walker, because Kenneth Walker is awesome. So once they get him back, they should be good. Let's see if we are good to go. Do you got us?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we little behind baseball here, guys. My Wi-Fi went out right before we went live, and I don't know what's going on. So my roommate is my landlord, so he needs to get home and figure it out.
All right, let's move on to the rest of these games quickly so we can get out of here and get you ready for some Sunday night football. Your Bears are taking on the Texans. But let's talk about the Giants and the Commanders. The Commanders somehow squeak away with the 21-18 win in this game. And that's about it, because I didn't like anything about this game.
The game sucked. Everything about that game sucked. Every time they showed that game on the Red Zone channel, I was like, oh my gosh, get this off. And it was always just Deshaun or Trevor Lawrence throwing some interception to a guy sliding down the ball.
Well, I'm talking about the Giants and Commanders, but yes, the Browns and Jaguars was an absolute disgrace, disgusting mess as well. So
yeah, the Giants Commanders was another. Yeah, those were both. Shout out Austin Seibert. Shout out to Austin Seibert.
Yeah, game-winning field goal. Yeah,
7 for 7 today.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it was like the Commanders' 5th kicker in the last year or something like that. So hopefully the Commanders found a guy with Austin Seibert, and hopefully Austin Seibert found home with the Commanders. But yes, the Browns-Jags game was just disgusting, and we don't need to spend any time talking about it
at all. I mean, it was just so gross. What about the Ravens? They're 0-2 right now, and they just lost to the Raiders, who I don't think is a good football team at all. So what are your thoughts on the Ravens?
I don't think it really changes my tune too much yet about them. I mean, we see good teams start 0-2 all the time. I mean, the Bengals do it every single year, it seems like. I think the Ravens are still going to be able to figure it out in the end, especially right now that division. Now, the Steelers are 2-0, but with the Browns Browns won today. So with Browns did win, right? They won that game. 18.
Yeah, they barely won that game against the Jaguars.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just making sure before we went on. But yeah, I mean, you got a 2-0 team in the Steelers, a 1-1 team in the Browns, and 2-2 teams with Bengals and Ravens. The division is still very wide open because I don't think the Steelers are, a great team. I think they're always going to find ways to win because they're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's what Mike Tomlin teams do.
And they've got a good defense. Yeah.
but I don't trust them to win that division. Is the best way I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. So I think everything's still in front of the Ravens. Today was a stinker, but I think they're gonna figure it out.
I am hoping so. Going forward, how about the Cardinals and Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr.? Um, Maserati Marv has arrived in the NFL, and Kyler Murray just looked awesome. I don't know if you saw that play where he just scrambled around and ran around and threw the touchdown, but Kyler was great today. And it looks like we lost T-Bag yet again. All right, T-Bag, if you're listening, wave at me to let me know that you are back because we lost you. But yeah, Kyler Murray was great for the Cardinals today. They beat the Rams 41-10. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. I think he had like 4 receptions for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns there in that first quarter. So he was great for them. And then the Steelers and Broncos, that game was just ugly. The Steelers on offense can't really do much, but they somehow beat the Broncos, who can do even less on offense there for them. So the Steelers will be playing the Chargers next week. All right, we got you back here. Kyler Murray and Maserati Marv. How about them?
What a game! I'm mad because if the Rams just found a way to win that game, even though I can't be too mad because it was just an ass whooping upon ass whooping. So I can't be too mad because 41-10. That was the last I saw. Was that
that was the final? Yeah.
So my parlay would have hit, but I did feel like we were going to get a Maserati Marv game eventually, and we got it within the first 5 minutes.
He had 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter.
Yeah, I remember it was 7-0. He scored first touchdown. Cardinals 7-0, and then I feel like they went away for 3 minutes, and it was like I literally thought it was like a replay.
Oh yeah,
but then whenever I saw them, but then whenever I saw what happened, I was like, well, that's a different touchdown from the first touchdown I saw. It's he really just scored 2 like that. Cardinals are fun. Cardinals are a good, fun team.
They're real fun.
Rams, I did not expect that at all. I did not expect the Rams to just get, tail whipped today.
Well, and they're now down both of their best receivers with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua.
And my fantasy, I got McCaffrey and Kupp in the same league, and I am losing. I'm only losing by So this week I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose by 10 points this week, probably in that ballpark. And it's just if just one of those guys would have just played the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. My football season sucks. I don't know why we always look forward to football season. All I do is lose nothing but disappointment. All my money. Huh? It's never. My bets, my fantasy team. It's all bad.
All right. Before we talk about the Bears and the Texans coming up here in just a couple of minutes, let's talk about the Bengals and the Chiefs. This game stunk at first. Then it started heating up. The former Oklahoma Sooner Wanya Morris scores a touchdown for the Chiefs, so a big man touchdown there in Kansas City. This game, when these two teams play, it's just so much fun to watch.
It's everything about it. It has aura. It's the best way to put it. It just has aura. Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes, the color combos, the uniforms, just everything about it just has complete aura. You can tell that they hate each other. It's genuine hatred out there. But yeah, I love it. And I just, once again, you think, Joe Burrow does everything he can to put the Bengals in position to win, but it's just not enough because the other side has Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And it's
story of my life.
Yeah, I know. I'm preaching to the choir when I say that to you, but yeah, I mean, I don't know really what else the Bengals could have done. I mean, I'm sure there's some things here and there you can go back and nitpick on, but they kind of did everything they could have to win that game. But it's just like we just said, the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, and at the end of the day, that's all you need.
They win that one by 1 point, so the Bengals now 0-2. To start the season. All right, predictions for tonight. What do you got right now? Houston a 6-point favorite. I'm gonna say the Texans win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
I think that
Yeah,
Bears
I'll say
defense is going
touchdown.
to play good.
I'll say touchdown. I'll say 24-17.
Yeah, I like
I think
that.
somewhere in that. I think
Yeah,
somewhere in that.
I think
What I
somewhere
want
in
to
there is a
see,
good number.
what I want to see today as a Bears fan is obviously win, just win, like figure that out. But I can also live with a loss to where the defense looks good still and Caleb Williams takes improvement. If that's the
Yeah.
case, then I can live with that. What's going to hurt is if they get blown out, the defense doesn't look good, Caleb doesn't look good again. That's going to be the way the way to make me hurt. Other than that, I should be able to sleep well at night with a close tight loss where the boys, played good and Caleb made an extra step.
Yeah, unfortunately I really need Tank Dell to play well tonight. I have him on my fantasy team, but I
got
also
David
have him.
Collins.
I still have the him on my fantasy team with the Chicago Bears defense on the team as well. So I'm kind of in like a weird situation where I need the receiver to go off, but the defense to play well. So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a great game though. I think Caleb Williams is gonna score a touchdown or throw a touchdown at least. And that's an improvement from last week.
I hope. I just don't want to think about what's gonna if Caleb Williams just goes out and just balls out and they win.
On Sunday Night Football, and you make a statement.
I got dirty thoughts going through my head thinking about that.
Oh man! All right, well, enjoy the game. It's coming up here in a little bit. That's going to do it for us here on this weekend football recap. We'll be back with you guys on Tuesday evening right here on the Sports Animal YouTube, Facebook as well. I'm at Preston Pool 405 on X. He's at Tyler's Take. Follow the pod account as well at Unadvised Pod on X as well. And we'll talk to you guys on Tuesday. Have a great one, everyone.